Two bald, soul-searching adventurers riddling the virtual landscape with conspiratorial tales, familial stories, and personal experiences. Welcome.
All right, man. Hey, Bald Noggins.
Oh, we're back. We're back.
Raise up, Bald Noggins.
Back with a
episode.
Hold on, let me.
Yeah. Get that straight. We don't want any loose hairs. There you go. Looking good. Looking good.
Looking good. All right. So today, right, we were thinking and chatting about. We spent some time growing up in Italy, and they had this guy Aldo Moro, who was the retired prime minister. He voted in at one point. They kidnapped this guy Aldo Moro in 75?
8.
Was it 78?
Yeah. That's when they found the body.
But he had been gone. No.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Awkward moment. Well, yes, but he had been missing for almost a year.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I mean, because they kidnapped. I mean, because the Red Brigades have been going on. Then they kidnapped that.
There were several kidnappings.
Yeah. Then they kidnapped the American general from NATO out of.
Yeah.
I think he was down in Naples.
That was a couple years later. Yeah, we were in Naples at the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I had moved back.
But we were living in Rome, where Aldo Moro was kidnapped by the Brigate Rosso, Red Brigade. And back then Italy was just coming out of being really fascist, World War II. So they were kind of still somewhat fascist, I believe.
Well, there was a real remember there's we lived in a neighborhood that was a little bit wealthier, and kind of on the northeast side of Rome, and it was a wealthier neighborhood, and so it was most of the kids were fascist. Remember they used to wear the long green wool coats and they drive scooters. Those were fascist kids. The communist kids wore desert boots, shorter jackets. They both had their own, you could tell who was who by the styles they wore. And of course, we were American, so we didn't dress like either, and we stood out like sore thumbs too. But
I mean, at the time, it was very politically volatile situation in Italy, especially with terrorism. Terrorism was real. I mean, rampant, pretty much. And there was cops on the street corners with machine guns. They were ready to go. They're ready to do battle. I mean, you don't see that
once they kidnapped Aldo Moro, they
escalated.
It was what do they call that? Martial law. And everywhere you went, even outside the American embassy, there was a bunker set up with sandbags and 50 caliber machine guns on top of an APC.
So you could we got to see the escalation back in the 70s of, we went there, just the Olympics had just ended. It was, peaceful. But you could just see, looking back, living the way the United States is now, I could see it's a resemblance of what was like in the 70s in Italy, this escalation in this divisive political environment and this fear of terrorism and the increase of terrorist activities. And Trump, second assassination attempt on a president, not president, but a former president.
And running for president. I mean, he's actively running.
That's and kind of Aldo Moro was the same kind of situation. He was a former prime minister looking at running again, and his platform was kind of a change into the way the government typically operated, get a little bit more decentralized. Nationalism. He was big on nationalism. He wanted to change the party structure. So anyways, it's pretty interesting that what I've heard since then, that he was kind of a threat to the status quo, basically.
Right.
At that age, and he had been through it, so he knew where the skeletons were. So I could see, looking back and what I know now, that he was a threat. And so they had whoever it is, the deep state or political establishment, the globalists, whoever, just felt he was too much of a threat, because it's still, I think should we say what happens to this guy? Maybe we'll wait till
Yeah.
the end of it.
No, tell him now.
Okay, he's dead. They killed him.
They killed. Oh, we're not laughing.
Well,
that
we're
they
not
killed him.
laughing at that.
We're laughing at the timing of our announcement of his death.
40 years later.
60, like 50, 60
Oh,
years
yeah.
later, we
Yeah.
finally, cat's out of the bag.
But anyways,
It was tragic. It was tragic because
kids-
they killed him. So you're thinking that it was that it wasn't like the Red Brigades. You think it was somebody within like
no,
a
I think it was
rival,
probably the Red Brigade doing somebody else's bidding, personally.
which is
I mean-
probably true in almost every case when terrorists are put up to do
Right.
something.
You know, whoever wants
Who's
to
really
pay-
pulling the string? Well,
You
you look
know-
at what we should be talking about is what's going on in Lebanon and Israel.
That's crazy. Well, that's insane. But I do have stories about that are somewhat related. Let's stay focused. on
okay. Let's
what's
stay
happening,
focused. I mean,
because it's
I-
interesting. You know, in that
Yeah.
story that you know, we're just kids. I was 78. I was 12 or something.
Yeah.
My math is not very
now
good.
you were older than that, but yeah, it's 13 probably.
13. Sorry.
It's a big difference. I mean, a year
Yeah, when you're a
you're
kid, a
12
year
to
is
when
like
you're
10 years.
13. I mean, that's like
Like a dog.
7
year.
years. Yeah, that's like a 7-year dog period. So we
Anyway.
don't even go into that.
Anyway. So anyways, we were coming back from some sort of family event. Two families got together, and you know, we went outside of Rome. So I think we may have went to Naples to go to the PX, you know, Americans shopping
with the D'Angelos?
yeah, they could go to the PX also.
I know, but why would we go down two family? I guess maybe
Yeah,
we did.
we were back
We're
then.
crazy.
Families were.
Well,
Families
that was like a 2.5-hour drive.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a
well,
ways.
maybe okay. So it wasn't Naples. It was a picnic.
Well, I'm saying, I don't know. Maybe we did, but it seems like a long way to drive with, people in different cars.
Yeah, but it's a
crazy.
PX, man. Post exchange.
Oh, it was a
military
big
base.
deal going to the PX. Yes, it was.
Oh yeah.
It was a big deal going down there. All American product. I mean, I'm just going to tell you a story to tell you how crazy European food was back in the 70s. I was going to university up in Perugia, and we had our neighbors were German, some young German guys, university students, and we were new. So I was rooming with this guy from Norway, Hakon, and then it was myself, and then it was Bernard, Reinhardt, and a bunch of like 4 or 5 German guys. So we're all sitting around talking about food from our countries, like, what do you guys eat for like lunch? And I don't know what they said, but I told them, I said, yeah, we have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And they just looked at me mystified. I'm saying, what, you guys have never, they go, peanut butter? I said, you never had, well, he said, yeah, we kind of know what it is, but we never, they never had
Like
peanut
gold.
butter. Well, it wasn't like gold. They just didn't really even know what it was. They thought, what's the deal with peanut butter and jelly? Jelly, what's jelly? Jelly what? Jelly?
Yeah. Well, we're a poor family.
We were poor white kids. Anyway, trailer trash. We'll get back to the story.
Well, anyways, we're coming back from whatever we were doing, and I was sitting with my friends in their car, in their Volvo, and ahead of us were my parents and Mike, who's sitting with me today, and Bill, my older brother. So, and they had the old green Mercedes. I guess it was like a 72, 73. Looked kind of suspicious. I'd say
It
dark
was
green.
older. It was like a 67.
Yeah, something like
It
that.
was
Dog
ancient.
years.
Now it's like, now they're cool.
Oh yeah.
Now,
yeah.
even with that little metal, remember we had that aluminum rack on? Now that's
Yeah, it had like fins
cool.
on the back. I mean, it's
it had fins
was
on the back, and it had the little roof rack on the car. It was like, we looked like total dweebs in that. I mean, nobody talked to us. We couldn't make any friends. But anyway,
yeah, it was. So we're moving in toward main highway, going into Rome, and of course, they're looking for Aldo Moro at the time. Still hadn't found him. Brigati Rosso had him. They didn't know where. They were searching everywhere, searching everybody, and we're coming up to this stop, and
it's a roadblock. So there's military personnel.
Yeah.
Everybody's standing,
Right.
facing traffic, and
we're driving, and I see my family in the car ahead, and the soldiers and the police are like waving cars. You got to pull over, get searched, and they wave to my dad, who's at the time, my dad was embassy. He had he was a rank of like a lieutenant colonel, military equivalent at the time, or maybe major. I mean, he was pretty high up in the embassy at whatever the rank structure. And he's going through, and Lou, who also worked as a contract worker for the embassy, the dad of my friend, he's like, "Stop, John, John, stop, stop." And my dad, he kind of just starts coasting through this roadblock.
And I was in the car. I was flirting
you
with
and
Dad.
Bill were teenagers, so I mean,
we weren't even paying attention.
Right. And you guys were teenagers at the time, what, 15, 16? So my mom, so they just all start training their AKs and stuff on Dad as he's just coasting through.
And we're still coasting through life.
And Lou's like, "Stop, John. Stop, John." I thought you guys were all going to be dead within the next few minutes.
You
like,
were
wow,
secretly cheering. Shoot
God,
him! Shoot!
Right.
And you got all the.
I was thinking of all the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches I would have that day.
So many.
I'd double up on it. But anyways,
Yeah.
you guys did survive. They didn't open fire. My dad finally pulled to the side of the road. And my dad's kind of goofy. I don't know.
Yeah, we thought
he
was
never
goofy.
did anything wrong.
We never said anything to him, but we thought this guy's pretty goofy.
God bless him.
God bless him. Well, you know what? We were talking about this earlier. So our father had a job in Montreal, Quebec, in Canada. And so we had been there for 4 or 5 years. And we had left Montreal and moved to Rome. Well, when we were in Quebec and Montreal, Pierre Laporte, this Canadian politician, had been kidnapped there. And they ended up killing him. They found him in the trunk of a car. Now, that was a few years. That was like when we first got there. I think they kidnapped Pierre Laporte. That had happened early on. But, I mean, the repercussions of that kind of, the whole time we were there, that was like, Parti Québécois. So then we move to Rome, Italy. Then it's not Parti Québécois because they're no longer in Quebec. We're Brigade Rosse, or whatever it was, Rosso, Brigade Rosso. And so we think my dad was involved.
He could have been a trained assassin.
He could have been.
I don't know.
I mean, everywhere we went, people kept dying, Chris. I don't know.
Politicians, not just not your next door neighbor.
So people can't be really mad at you because you're getting rid of. Well, everybody's got a politician problem wherever you go.
Right. So these politicians are mysteriously being killed.
And then we got this guy, our father, who's rolling through
the embassy. And he always, when he was off on weekends, he'd wear this very nice, tidy red sweatsuit. And he used to say,
the Adidas stripes on it.
Yeah. Say, "I'm the beastly bloodsucker of Bexley Moore."
I do remember that outfit. That's hilarious.
Everybody's like, "Really?
What is this guy wearing?
The beastly bloodsucker
Or Bexley Moore?" Yeah, that was actually from Canterbury Tales. But yes, that was very good. That was very good. You know what? We're breaking all the rules here. I'm leaning back. You're around.
So we'll go back to our Aldo Moro story.
Yeah. So
he ends up dead. They end up finding him dead in the trunk of a car,
right
within the city limits of Rome. And the Brigade Rosso, I guess they, admitted to killing him, but they never found the guys who actually killed him. The body was killed somewhere, put in the trunk of a, they're
moved,
and it just so it's an unsolved murder mystery to this day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's interesting. So obviously they had the some sort of protection and the capability of committing this very, this, everybody knew that, who this guy was and what, they admitted to kidnapping him.
Yeah.
Just really weird that it was so publicized, but nobody could find the killers.
Nobody found him. Well, it is kind of interesting, but then when you go to Italy and it's just so densely packed and it's
sure.
You know what I mean? I don't know how you'd find anybody.
But I just me personally, I was in law enforcement.
Sure.
I've mentioned before, and it's from a citizen looking at, going, "How'd they figure this out?" or "How'd they figure that out?" That's great. But you know what? People talk, and you get into the right circles of people. Somebody knows somebody who knows someone who told you. I
Right.
mean, we solved all kinds of cases just from people just hearing what the rumors were. Go talk to someone. Yeah, I heard that. And you just,
Yeah.
it's all
I think when
relational.
you're, see, yeah, but what I'm thinking is you had, I think you're probably right in the sense of it was probably a lot bigger than just the Red Brigades.
Right.
And I
I
don't
think.
know, but they were pretty successful for years. I mean, they were operating, I mean, the Red Brigades were
And
around
then
for,
the general, I'm just thinking of it now, that they rescued, they killed everybody in the room. So there's
right.
no witnesses
Yeah,
that could have led them to Aldo Moro.
right.
It was the same group that had killed Aldo
Well,
Moro.
didn't he
Anyway,
escape first, or did they save him?
can't remember if he may have escaped. Yeah, I didn't really look up that
Yeah,
story.
I'd have to look in, but it seems like vaguely I remember that somehow he must. But it was probably, I don't know how he survived when they killed everybody else. That's usually in those
Yeah,
kind of
it
situations.
was a big deal. I believe they, did a room entry and just was shooting everybody very precise. And
Yeah,
obviously, you don't shoot the victims.
shoot the guy. You try not to.
You shoot the bad guys. Yeah. So yeah, that's so anyways, I was just kind of looking at, back then, what we're going through today, what we
Yeah,
experienced as kids,
yeah,
50
and
years
being in a different country too. That was added an extra layer of weirdness because we just, I mean, I don't think I'd ever seen like a military roadblock or a paramilitary. I can't
right.
remember exactly what was going on in Montreal. I think there was they had instituted martial law in Quebec maybe for a little bit, but I don't think it was quite on the level that Italy, of course, in Rome being I think Rome is the capital of Italy, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe it is.
Being in a capital city, there was a lot more going on there. So I think Rome and Montreal are about the same size population wise, but
Yeah.
the military presence in Rome was a lot bigger than it was with Pierre Laporte in Quebec when we were there. But
So yeah, this is just to give everybody in our audience, things to think about, things to ponder at night when you're
That's
laying
right.
alone in your bed.
better Aldo Moro and the Red Brigades than like who is that? Freddy Krueger. That's creepy.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, listen.
Hey, I will stop this. Stop recording. That's our sign off. Stop recording. Our sign on. Start recording.
Ugh.